everybody for joining Kelly Smith and Portrait today. Kelly Smith is the founder and CEO of Projected Growth Consulting, an aesthetic medical business consulting company. Thanks to Kelly's guidance, the Projected Growth Consulting team has successfully supported more than 5,000 aesthetic medical providers in increasing their revenue. She's authored 3 books that offer step-by-step formulas to help increase practice exposure, revenue, and profits. And her proven systems have helped thousands of practice owners accelerate their growth to over 7 figures in sales. Kelly, we're so delighted to have you today.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be here to talk about how to make this year turn out amazingly well, or at least the last little bit of it here. But most importantly, I really wanted to focus on how to make next year successful, because this is the time of year that you really need to be focused on making your plans for a successful 2024. I know many times I am approached by clients this time of year because you're just now looking at the way things are turning out, and not only sales, but profit. So as a previous med spa owner myself, I know what it's like to be in the spa and not able to work on your business. So when you're busy working in your business, you can't work on the problems that you need to solve to make your business more profitable. And many of our clients are injectors. And I know with Portrait, a lot of you guys are building your aesthetic practice from a base, if not totally reliant on injectables. And so many of our clients, that's what we work on building out for them first, because that's such a good foundation for everything that you're going to offer to your clients. So my goal today is to have you leave with tangible, step-by-step tools that will help you figure out how to have a profitable and successful 2024, and how to measure what's happened in 2023. So the areas that we focus on when we do business consulting or work with our clients are really 10 key areas. Today, I'm going to focus on 6 of those and show you some shortcuts on how to make it easy to figure out these important business principles. So number 1, any small business has 3 parts to it, no matter what kind of business we're talking about. And that is finance, marketing, and operations. I find that most of the practitioners that I work with are very experienced on operations, on giving services, standard operating procedures for keeping your patients safe, and the standards of the facility up to HIPAA and OSHA standards. All of those things, those are really operations, standard operating procedures. The areas that can be very challenging would be finance and marketing. So today I'm going to talk to you primarily about the finance and marketing parts, because most of the time the operations seem to be the easier of the 3. So starting with revenue goals, I'm going to go into some details on how to set really clear revenue goals, because I think we could all agree you will miss a target 100% of the time when you don't know what the target is. So you'll find with the tools that I give you, they are going to be like driving a car. You do want to have a speedometer. It's really helpful if we can put the location that we want to go to into your navigation. It's important to know if you have enough gas, and you want to know if you're staying in the right lane. And hopefully your car has oil and good tires, right? So there's key things that you need to have a safe drive and a good trip. That's what we're going to talk about today, is back to basics. But most importantly, I find most of my clients at the crossroads of not enough profit and not enough time to fix the not enough profit problem, because you're busy working in the business and have no time to work on the business. That's why I really created my book, Top 10 Profit Killers, with easy step-by-step fixes that don't take a lot of time. And we also have our PGC app, so that these steps that I'm going to teach you could be super easy. So for attending this workshop, we're going to have a link that you can click so you can get access to this app. You can also get a free copy of my book by attending. So don't worry about taking notes all over the place. You can get a recording of this webinar as well as the slides, or a free copy of the book or the app. So I really want you to just watch and listen to why these steps are important as I walk through them with you. So number one, where are we trying to go? That is revenue goals. What is the goal? We've got to put it in the navigation. Are we trying to be a $250,000 company a year? Are we trying to be $1 million practice? Are you trying to bill 10,000 a month, 20,000 a month, 30,000 a month? Very different goals. And I'm going to walk through how to set those clearly so that you feel confident and your staff feels confident about your monthly revenue goals. Now, let me just stop and say revenue, income, and sales all mean the exact same thing. Top line sales, income, that's the money that comes in that you collect from your clients and you put it in your bank account. Then you've got cost of goods. Those are the costs that it takes to render that. So it's the cost of your toxin, your needles, the prep solutions, everything that goes into it except for labor. So when you think of it with retail skincare, it's the cost of goods are, I have to buy these products at $100 and then I sell them for $200. Your cost of goods in order to have that product was the $50. And these are just some basic terms with the finance that I think are super important to get out there, because a lot of times you don't realize what profit means. Now, profit means the amount of money left for you after you paid all the expenses of the business. So sales or revenue come in, your cost of goods go out, your expenses like labor and rent and those things also go out, and that leaves you with profit or also taxable income. You've probably heard it both ways. I want to explain to you as we go through here that profit is really the most important thing to pay attention to, because it's not necessarily more revenue doesn't always solve the problem of not having enough money for you. And we'll get into that in a little more detail. The second area we're going to talk about are industry averages or KPIs for conversion ratios. And then we're going to move into expense benchmarking for our industry. It's really important for you to know where you fall so that if you're already doing a great job in one area, you don't waste your time trying to fix that if there's a problem in another area. So I'm going to share with you what those are and how to look at yours in 5 minutes. Then we're going to talk about staff production multiples, because this is an area that is always difficult when someone is hired and they want to make a certain amount of money because maybe they were a nurse at the hospital and they made $40 an hour, $50 an hour, and they want to come be an injector for you and they've never done injectables before. So they're coming in as a level 1 injector. And sometimes it's difficult to have that conversation with a friend as to why your hourly rate and the commission or bonus structure you suggest is not going to be the same as what they were making at the hospital. I'm going to give you the tools where you can depersonalize that conversation so that you never have to feel bad again when you're negotiating salaries and compensation plans. Then I'm going to talk about marketing ROI. How do you know if your marketing is doing a good job and if you're making the right kind of marketing decisions? Leading into one of our most popular tools and one of the more important tools that you could implement, which is your annual marketing plan, so that you stop discounting too deeply, which can really affect your profits, and have a clear marketing plan so you can get the very most out of your staff and your marketing partners. So finance, marketing, and operations. We're going to get started, and I'm going to give you the top 6 tools that we use with our clients that you will be able to use with the app that you will have access to for 30 days free after this webinar. So monthly revenue goals are not just, I want to do $100,000 a month in revenue because I want to have a $1.2 million med spa. It'd be great if it was that simple, but it's more important to look at it. How much revenue or income do I want to make by service? So toxins, fillers, peels, IPL, laser hair removal. Maybe you have weight loss, maybe you have body contouring, maybe you have RF microneedling, maybe you've got some kind of minimally invasive services like RF lipo, laser lipo, things like that. We need to look at what is your goal for your facility by service, because what then we can do is look at what your average service charges to see how many appointments you would need in order to hit that goal. Now, that's really important because sometimes you don't really have staff 40 hours a week, or you'll set a goal that's not possible to be made by your staff or in your facility. So both staffing and capacity analysis are something that we offer that we can help you with, but that's something you need to consider. So when you're setting goals, you need to be thinking about, okay, I want to do this much in toxins and fillers. That's this number of appointments. How many staff members do I have on site, and do they have the hours necessary to do that? Do I have the room necessary to do that? That's going to really go into your thought pattern. And then lastly, as you think about your revenue goals and project them by month, you want to take into account seasonality. Things like in the summer, we know it's going to slow down because your target demographic is going to take a vacation in July and August, July or August typically. We also know when kids go back to school, we get slow, but there's other things involved. During the summer, we're not going to do CO2s and IPLs and laser hair removal as much. Now we might get busier with RF microneedling or things that are colorblind or the sun doesn't matter. But there is always naturally a few months of the year that are slower, and there are certain services that just are not done during certain times of the year. So I'm showing you this quick tool because if you're like me, it's hard to find the time to do what it takes to set these kind of goals. So in the PGC app, it walks you through quickly where you can select what you offer, put in your last year's revenue, your pricing, and then you can make goals for this year. And it's also going to show you how many appointments that means and show you the flow of revenue. So that is one of the most important things you can do for yourself and your practice. The next thing that's critical to implement right away after your monthly revenue goals is looking at how are we doing with our leads and our front desk? Because if you're not converting at an industry average or standards, you can't even buy yourself out of being too slow. If you spend $10,000 a month on pay-per-click marketing and you're only converting at 10%, you just can't even spend enough money long enough to make your practice grow. So if you're spending marketing dollars, which on average people are spending somewhere between 5 to 7%. So for every $100,000, in order to keep your market share, you're probably spending about $5,000 a month. So if you're going to spend the money doing that, you need to know when the phone rings or people come up to the front desk, if you're transitioning, say, from an gynecology practice and you're doing also MedSpa services, you want to count a lead as someone that comes up and walks to the front desk and asks you about your new laser, or if your phone rings. An online inquiry is someone filling out a form on your website? Are they clicking through a social media paid ad or through a messenger app? Perhaps that they're messaging you on Facebook or Instagram. Online leads are the ones that come directly to you. Sometimes it's a Google lead that's coming in through maybe your portal. Those are your online inquiries. So what this app does is it makes it super quick to know what's happening, because your front desk and phone leads plus your online leads, those are your total inquiries. Now there's only one of three things that can happen with those. Either that person will book a service, or they'll book a consult, or they won't book anything at all. That conversion ratio will vary based on where that lead comes from. If you're doing a pay-per-click lead, those are $100 to $300 per lead. Those will convert at 40 to 50%. If you're doing a disruptive marketing lead, like a paid social lead where it pops up, there's an offer and people click on it, those convert at about 10%, and they're about $8 to $20 per lead. So at the end of the day, it's going to cost you about the same to convert them, but you're going to get a lot more paid social leads. And those are the ones that you build an email list and you continue to email to, and eventually they might end up buying from you, instead of the ones that are actually out looking for a solution for wrinkles or to lose some weight, things like that. So those numbers have to equal. So if you enter in your inquiries plus your conversions, you need to know, okay, how did I do? Well, if I'm getting a conversion ratio above 50%, we're doing really well. If we are looking at these things weekly, you can start seeing an issue. So maybe on one day of the week, you notice that your leads don't convert very well, but on another day of the week, they convert really well. And you realize you've got two different staff members working on up there, for example. When those kinds of things are going on, it's so helpful to know what's going on at that front desk, because if you're paying to make your phone ring, you want to make sure that you know what your conversion ratios are. Are we able to talk to that person on the phone? Are we responding quick enough with the phone or an online lead to get them booked to a consult, a service, or some sort of at least answering their questions, right? Many of the times I find practices aren't even responding to the leads. They're spending money and not answering the phone or following up quickly enough. So that's one area that would pop out. If you're not able to convert when you're talking to them, getting them into the office, then that's sales training. If your services aren't actually closing, then we know we've got another issue. So those are important things to track. Everything that you track, when you track things, performance improves. Which brings us into tracking a more advanced area. I get this question a lot. How much should I be spending on payroll or marketing? What should I expect to be able to make with my location? And I want to make this really easy. If you click the QR code that I'll have at the end of our session here, you can call one of our consultants and we will enter these numbers for you, or you can enter these into the app. And in about 15 minutes, you'll see how you stack up to the other practices in the industry. So basically, when you look at your benchmarks, you're looking at your profit and loss, and you're looking at, okay, how much income came in for the year? These are easy numbers for you to see. How much did I spend on rent? $5,000 a month. The goal, the industry average is 5%, so we're just a little bit over here. Employee payroll, 300,000. Okay, our goal is 25%. We're at 30%. Marketing and advertising, again, I said that somewhere between, for an existing business, it's usually going to be between 5 and 10% if you're trying to continue to grow, somewhere around 5% to maintain. And if you're a startup, it can be as high as 20%. This one is showing they're spending 12%, so they're over on marketing by 5%. Now, if you're trying to grow your practice, that might be a good expenditure. Not all expenses are bad. It just depends if you're getting the result. If you're spending 12% of income to grow the practice and you're growing, then that might be a good investment. I'm going to get into how you figure that out in a few minutes here. Total cost of goods, we talked about those. Those are supplies like the disposables to run your M-Sculpt machine, or the toxins or fillers back bar to use, or the hydrofacial fluids. These are all costs of goods, whatever it takes to render the service. Credit card fees are another area where we really see a lot of variance. So when you're looking at your credit card fees, it is important to try to make sure you're not getting those too high. We like to try to keep them, this has been changing over the last few years and is high right now. Trying to get to that 3% for credit card fees is important. Equipment leases, again, those vary, but we really don't want to have them over 5%. Consulting and training, ongoing training, having about 5% of your budget available is really helpful. Accounting and legal, again, it depends on the size of your business. I do want to say that looking at things as a percent of income is important, because when you have a $500,000 clinic and you spend $20,000 on marketing, it's 1%. But when you have $1 million clinic and you're spending that amount of money on marketing, it's not nearly enough. So when you look at something like, I want to take up a space that's going to cost me $10,000 a month, okay, then that tells me right away that has got to be a really big revenue producing space, because we don't want you to be too much higher than 5% for your rent. And that's going to dictate, okay, well, what kind of revenue does this facility need to make? What does the doctor or owner need to make? Which will really help us decide how to utilize those rooms, what equipment to buy, what services you can afford to offer. All of these numbers work together. But it's important to realize, if you are looking at certain things by expenses, for example, payroll, we want to keep that under 25% if possible. This one's 30%, it's 300,000 of $1 million. But if it was a 300,000 of $500,000, that would be a 50% cost of goods. And we would know that it shouldn't take 50% of your revenue in labor to create that kind of result. So it's not so much of watching what is the dollar amount doing every single month, if it's going up or down, it's the percent of income. How does that relate to the size of your practice and how much income you've got? So this is a very quick exercise that you guys can enter in at any point once your QuickBooks are tied up or your profit and loss is tied up. You could look at this every month if you wanted to, but this is the time of year that I see a lot of people wanting to figure out why they don't have more taxable income or more money in the bank at the end of the year as we're in Q4. So these are the key things you're looking at is payroll, cost of goods, net profit, marketing, rent, processing fees. We're really looking at expenses generally that are over 1% in most cases. All right, so this is a biggie. I kind of said you'll run into difficult conversations or different staff members who feel like they should make more money or they're worth more money. And I deal with these kinds of questions every day. And it is really important to be able to put it into perspective. So in our industry, if you're already in our, if you've done any work with us or taken our courses, we show you what the multiples should be based on the position and the experience level. But the way that you figure out what people are producing is really simple. You look at what have you paid them year to date, or if you want to look at it by quarter or by year or by month, it's all the same. What we need to know is how much have we paid you or your staff member in base pay and bonus pay, add that up. Then we want to look at how much has that staff member provided in services to clients in terms of dollars and retail sales in terms of dollars. And that's going to give you their total revenue. Now, what we want to know is what is their multiple? So if you're paying them $50,000 a year and the multiple is 5, we need to make sure that they're producing at least $250,000 a year. Now you can see how this is helpful for setting monthly sales goals or hourly revenue goals or daily goals. If you know you've got a 4, 5, 6, or 7 multiple that you're going for, then you are going to be able to set, here's, you're making $1,000 a day, you're an advanced injector, I need you to bring in at least $7,000 a day, a 7x for an advanced injector. Now that means that after that threshold is met, that's a good time to put a bonus structure in place. So if someone's hired and they want to make more money, we can show them, gosh, after this 4 multiple is met, after that I can put a bonus structure in place or a 5 multiple, depending on what they're looking for. So having these numbers put some control into your staff members' hands. And it's also a great way to look at average revenue per hour, because that is something that you can measure throughout the day and still have time to change it along the way. And there are industry averages that we share throughout our accelerator training and VIP Inner Circle, where we can go through and talk about with your injectors, you really should be averaging $1,000 an hour. With a surgeon, you're averaging $2,000 an hour. With an esthetician, we really need to be averaging at least $300 an hour. That will help you with looking at, are you taking too long for appointments? Are you not turning rooms fast enough? Do people need to speed up on their efficacy for a treatment? Let's say you get a RF microneedling machine. Over time, you'll get faster and be able to do those 3 passes in a 45-minute session. But at first, you're booking out an hour and a half. You're trying to figure things out. It's a lot like typing on a keyboard. It's a dexterity and coordination skill. So with these numbers, which I like to keep it basic, we don't need to get into revenue per minute or half hour or 15-minute increments. It's almost too small to be actionable. You'll notice in the app and in my book, I keep it basic, because if you're measuring these key areas, you're going to create improvements or see what's not working. But I don't want to measure a number if it's not something that will help you make a decision towards action. It's all about implementation. I'm sure many of you know a lot of things I'm talking about already. You just haven't had a chance to do them, or sometimes we forget about some of these things. And that's really why between the book or the book and the app, I want to make it super easy for you to do, because I know time is always one of the constraints of why we aren't able to do all of these things for our business. And that brings me to the second to last area here, because marketing is such an important part of the business. And I hear every single day, I'm spending money on marketing and I don't know if it's working, or I don't want to spend money on marketing because I've done it before and I couldn't tell if it was working. Marketing is getting clients, retaining clients, or growing clients. That's all marketing is. Get, keep, or grow clients. We do know it costs 5 to 25 times more to get a new client than to keep an existing one. We also know that your top 20% of your clients are producing almost 80% of your revenue. So it is critical that you do cross promotions and combination treatment therapies and packages, because you want to retain your clients. That's why we talk about membership so much, because it costs so much more to get a new one. Okay. And we want clients that refer clients. But marketing still goes on to keep your market share or to grow your practice. Let's say you add more staff or you get new equipment, or you're just not using the capacity that you have. That's where your marketing really becomes so important to measure. Measuring marketing is looking at how much am I spending for my website, for my pay-per-click, for my paid social, for whatever else you might be doing, and looking at the lead source when they come in. So in your CRM or your booking software, all of them typically ask where a client heard about you. That is so important to run a report to see where your leads are coming from on a regular basis, at least quarterly, if not monthly, because you have to know where these leads are coming from. Some of them are more easy to tell than others. So if you're doing pay-per-click and you're working with a company like ours, where you have a dashboard and it shows that lead came in and you marked what happened with it and whether they bought, you can say, okay, I spent $3,000 a month. I got 30 leads, so my cost per lead is $100. We booked 10 consults, that's 33%. I'm going to say we need to work on conversion training, consultation conversion training, because we need to be at 50% or better. And we closed 7 out of those 10, which 70% is a good closing ratio. We'd love to be between 75 and 80 if we can get there, but 70% is a nice, solid closing ratio. So these numbers then show us now, okay, we sold $15,000. Awesome. We spent $3,000. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. So you got a 5x ROI on your marketing dollars spent in this area. We want to have at least a 4x ROI in order to keep doing that kind of marketing. Basically, if you're spending, $1,000 a month and you're only getting $2,000 or $3,000 a month out of it, it really probably isn't the best way to use your marketing dollars. If it's not creating at least a 4x ROI, then it's something to consider, perhaps putting that money into something else that will work better for you. In the industry right now, depending on your size, pay-per-click is one of the best ROIs out there if it's done correctly. But like anything, the devil's in the details on this one. So make sure if you're doing marketing with a company in the industry that they really only service the aesthetic industry, because there's a lot of rules with words and terms in our industry that change regularly. We manage hundreds of digital marketing and pay and social accounts. And one day you can use stem cells, the next day you can't. One day you can talk about semaglutide, the next day you can't. It's a moving target. So you need someone that really specializes in the industry that also gives you sales training, because sending you the lead is only part of the issue. Training your staff on how to convert the lead and then do the consultation and close the consultation is the other half of that scenario. Sending leads is not the hard part. Converting the leads is really where the work starts. And that brings me to my very last one, which we have the 1-hour annual marketing plan. That book is out and available. We have a course for this, but I wanted to make it really easy in the app. So you guys hopefully will take us up on free access to the app for 30 days, because if you can put your annual marketing plan together, this tool, along with your revenue goals being measured weekly, those are the 2 most important things you can do to grow your business. And that's what I have built many success stories on. So why is an annual marketing plan so important? Number 1, cross promotion or value added selling instead of discounting or Groupon is a much better way to go about promoting these services. We all know that combination therapy is what's really creating the wow result when we see influencers or celebrities out there. And it's our job to tell clients how to achieve the results they're looking for. So instead of worrying about if combination therapy is going to be expensive and maybe you wouldn't pay that much, we know and do a lot of consultation training. We do hundreds of events where we close 70% of the clients out there. We know how to close sales, and I know that it is so hard for consultants to decide that people won't spend a certain amount of money because they wouldn't. So it's not up to us to decide how to spend our clients' money. If your client is in a med spa or in an aesthetic practice looking for solutions to problems that are bothering them, they already have an idea of how much it's going to cost. They're ready for results, and they will open their wallet. And like I tell you, we do 20, 30 events every single month, and the closing ratios are very high, and the average sales are between 3,000 to 7,000 per sale. This business is growing, the industry is growing, and people are paying for these services. We're selling memberships all the time and a lot of these combination treatments. So what's important is if you lay your whole year out and you do combination cross promotions, meaning new year, new year, new year, new you, or new year, new skin, something fun. With any art, with RF microneedling, get free toxin. You've just marketed 2 different services, and you've got people to say, what? Free toxin? What is RF microneedling? Or how much toxin do I get? Or how long does this special last? Marketing is starting the conversation. Maybe they don't even want RF microneedling or toxin, and you end up selling them something different. But marketing is to start the conversation and begin that sales process or consultation process. So the idea here is to pick a tagline that is something that makes sense for the time of year and what you're trying to promote, and to go through and think all through the year, what do you want to promote as your main service you want to sell, and what could you add to it that would make the results improved? What is something that you like to do with it anyway? Or what is something that people are going to recognize the name of if you're trying to bring something in that's new that they haven't ever heard of? Or what is something you can provide that looks like it's worth a lot of money, but you don't have to pay that much? It's got a low disposable, or you don't have a lot of labor involved. That's the way you put these cross promotions together. So when we do this, number one, you can let your injectable rep know, I'm going to do something with toxins in July, and in January, could you do some sort of a contest for my staff, and could you give us some vials to to utilize in this special? Or maybe you're going to talk about RF microneedling a certain time. You can let your vendor know, gosh, I'm doing 2 promotions. Could I earn some extra tips? Could I earn some staff tips? Could I have you come in and do lunch and learn? Could you run a contest for my team of who sells the most? All of those kinds of things fall into this area. And this is where you then know, what should I be talking about on Instagram and Facebook? What sort of videos should we be doing about the services? This helps you focus in on what you want to blog about, what you want your staff to talk about, and what you want to run your contests around for your social media, and even for your staff. This is really a way to organize the year to make sure, okay, I really want to make sure I do a lot of RF microneedling, so I'm going to highlight that 4 different times, but quarterly. I do want to sell IPL, but I'm not as worried about that much of it, so I'm going to couple it with a chemical peel. And I'm going to do it, after summer, so that people can get sun damage treated, right? We're not going to do it in the middle of June. So this is, what season should I sell it in? What do I want to market? And what is going to optimize or cross promote or make this a really cool offer, so I can then start the conversation either online or in person about what I can do to help our clients look and feel their very best. This is a great closing tool and a retention tool, and it can help you plan out your year for events as well as your social content. So it's that one sheet solution, and this is just a portion of it. I just wanted to show you guys how easy it can be. So each one of these tools that we use, literally you can do the benchmarking in probably 15 minutes. You can put together an annual marketing plan in an hour. You can put your revenue goals in an hour. These are things that we do during our executive coaching clients, 1-hour sessions, to help them get completely organized and ready to go. And so I'm just sharing here one of our clients in Colorado. She was an injector. I know many of you guys have started as an injectable nurse. She was doing just toxins and fillers. Then she started adding some RF microneedling. Now she's selling memberships like crazy and doing combination therapy. And we're able to really watch the growth of her revenue. She's been doing successful sales events, and it really comes down to cross promotions, sales events, and memberships, along with pay-per-click and social media. So if you are ready to take your practice to the next level and expand either in services or profit or staff, I want to invite you to, number one, click the QR code and check out how we can walk you through a practice diagnostic and give you access to the app and also receive a free book. And if this was helpful today, this little preview, we are offering an upcoming 90-minute webinar, and it's going to be Wednesday, December 6th. It will be a live interactive webinar where we can talk and answer questions for you. But I'm going to be going over all 10 areas of top 10 profit killers and how to fix or avoid them, and show you how to step-by-step go through these processes of goal setting and measuring and creating your marketing plan in an interactive environment so that you can be set up for success. So I hope you can join us. Someone will win an on-site sales event at that online workshop, and as well as get access to the app. So I hope that you guys will reach out to us with this QR code, because we would love to help you answer any questions and see how we can help you guys set up for the very best 2024. So I can move on to questions. Are you there, Jennifer?
Hi, Kelly. That was amazing. Thank you. So we do have a handful of questions here, and then you are going to give away a ticket to that webinar, right?
Yes, exactly.
Everybody hang on just a few minutes for that raffle. So the first question we've got on your conversion slide, can you talk about paid leads again? When should a new med spa business consider doing paid ads, and what paid leads have a higher conversion rate? What paid leads? Maybe.
Yep, no, I understand what they're saying. So, so marketing it's the challenging part is we're a consumer buying something that we don't really understand, which is, this is a great question because we run into it every single day. And so pay-per-click is when you search for Botox near me or something like that on your computer, and the results come up. The top three are Google AdWord or pay-per-click, means the same thing. Those two words are interchangeable. And what that means is they're not organically coming up by geography or who's got the best website. They're popping up because those are paid pay-per-click Google AdWord positions, and there's always three of them. The consumer doesn't know whether those are paid or just coming up naturally, the average consumer. Some people are savvy, okay? But they also show that people aren't going past page one to find a solution. So those pay-per-click ads are really important, and that's step one. If you're looking at where do you start as a new practice with marketing, number one, you need a website that's conversion based or a landing page. Now, when I say landing page, it's because it's a Google approved landing page. It doesn't have words on it that you can't have to drive a lead to. So people are always confused of why they can't just add pay-per-click and send it to their website. I was confused why you can't do that too. Well, there's different Google words if you have PRP or stem cells or exosomes or vampire facials, or you do HRT, or you do, those are semaglutide. If any of those things live on your website, you're going to not have a good result from pay-per-click, and a lot of times you're going to get flagged and your account will get paused. So it's great to have all those things, and you can have all those things on your website. That's no problem. You just can't send paid traffic to it. So organically, your people, your clients can see that you do that and everything, and you can have it on there. You just can't have it for a pay-per-click landing page. So you'll notice that with pay-per-click landing pages, we're going to tell you to pick 3 or 4 services max, because they'll feed all of your other services. So let's say we look at toxins, fillers, RF microneedling, and Cool Sculpt, if you're offering those. those leads will probably filter in and feed all the rest of the things, because most of the clients that are doing toxin or doing cool sculpt are doing the other. So you really, those are the main ones that you want to grab and then bring into the practice. Those should convert at 40 or 50%. So for every inquiry that either calls you or fills out the form, you should be able to get 4 or 5 out of 10 of those to come in and see you. The other is called paid social or disruptive marketing. So I'm not Googling for where is Botox near me. I'm cruising through Instagram and a pop-up says, do you want 20 units of free Botox? And I'm like, yep, I do. Yep, give it to me. And I click it and I go partway through the process. I might finish, I might not finish, but that click right there is a lead. And I might forget that it's in the background, or I might take you up for your $29 coupon for $400 worth of Botox. It doesn't matter whether I do it all the way through and buy something, whether I don't, I have clicked it. That is a lead. So you get 300 of those, and about 10% of them will come across the line and come in. So you've gone through, 100, and you might get 10 that are serious. You got 50 that don't even, they forgot that they even like have it sitting there. It was a shiny, it was like squirrel, click. Okay. It's like I'm on Instagram and this great dress shows up because I might take a cruise sometime in the next 5 years, and I click it and then I forget it in my thing. So when you do paid social, it's called disruptive, and it's usually a really good shiny offer, not exactly when people are looking for it. 10 of those 100 people will click all the way through, and they might be a good lead. But if you're a new practice, it can make you think that you're really bad at sales and that the leads are really bad because the people aren't responding. And my staff's calling them all the time, but my staff is awful because they can't convert them. It's like not being able to upsell a Groupon lead. Yeah, you can't upsell a Groupon lead. It's really hard to do. So what it is good for is not that they're bad, but you want like 75% of your budget to go to pay-per-click to actually get people that want your services and they know what they are. And 25%, it's the frosting and the sprinkles of paid social. Or if you're just trying to build a list of people sort of interested so you can market to them over time, they will over time, and retargeting, you might get 40 or 50% of them over an amount of time. So we use it to build a database of emails, but it's the long game. You'll get a couple, but it's not nearly as predictable and high conversion as pay-per-click. So with a new client that doesn't have a lot of money, landing page, pay-per-click until you're, and when it starts working, put more money on the pay-per-click, do organic social yourself. And then when you can afford to add to it, that's when you would sprinkle that on. A lot of times people start with the paid social because it sounds really, really good. Do you want 300 leads a month for $500? They're like, yes, I do. And then after 3 months of that, I get the call of, we're spending all this money on marketing and none of it's working at all. What are you doing? Paid social? Yeah, because it's a numbers game. That one's a tough one. And that's really hurting a lot of med spas and aesthetic practices right now, and they don't understand why. So it's really frustrating.
That was an incredible answer, and I'm sure this person really appreciates how thorough that was. Thank you. The next question we've got, do you have resources where I can train my staff on conversion upselling?
Yeah, definitely. We actually have an online course that's on demand, so you can do it anytime you want. And it's called Conversion Consultation and Closing course on our website. So if you go to Projected Growth Consulting, the courses are all there. It's very affordable, and you've got access to it forever. It's got downloadable workbooks and scripts, and it's how to sell like the top 20 most requested services, and everything's in it. They show, it'll be like toxins in general and fillers in general, and then it'll go specific, or if it's RF microneedling, it'll show all the top names, because there's always new devices with new names. And it's really important for your staff to realize, just because you don't have the name of what the client called for, say they called for cool sculpting and you have an alternative, maybe you have it doesn't matter what the name is, right? Whether it's reduce, your staff member needs to know that that person wants to get rid of fat in a certain area. You don't have to have a cryo or a fat freezing solution. If maybe you have a way to heat up the fat and make it go away. That's that challenge at the front desk. So this course is really good because it teaches you all the other things they might ask for and how to have that conversation as well, and all the tracking so that you can see if they're doing well.
That's great. Thanks, Kelly. The next question, I would really love to open a second location by the summer and a third location by 2025. What is your best advice to hit this goal?
Analyze the numbers of the location you have. Make sure that that's going really well and that you've optimized, to make it as profitable as possible with the right standard operating procedures, meaning you really like the consultation structure, you're tracking everything, you've got a good lead source coming in with high conversions, you've got good compensation plans. It's all about the systems and scaling. When you want to do multiple locations, you can't be in 2 or 3 places at once. So suddenly what matters is there a system and process in place, or are you that system and process? Because if you're that system and process and you just make it happen, you can't make it happen at 3 locations. So more isn't always better. If you're wanting more money, 2 more locations may not get you more money. It may just steal a lot of time. So you want to really look at rolling that out strategically. And it's not easy to have multiple locations. So make sure you're really doing it right at one before then you duplicate that into other locations.
Great, thank you. And the last question we have here, when should I have my 2024 goals set? What is a good rule of thumb for planning out goals, tracking KPIs throughout the year?
Well, this is the perfect time. Usually Q4, October, November, December is when you want to set up your goals for 2024, because you can really get a good sense by this far into the year. We've started the 11th month. So you've got 10 months of data, unless you're new. But if you have 10 months of data, you really can see what's realistic. And then as you set your goals moving forward, a rule of thumb is to try to grow by 10% in each area. If there's capacity and you're not changing staff, you're not in revenue. So if you're doing $100,000 worth of, say you're doing $50,000 worth of toxins a month, you might make the goal 55 and then, kind of grow it. Or if you've got a new staff member, it might be a dramatic increase in numbers. So if everything remains the same equipment, same staff, same capacity kind of a thing, then you want to try to grow about 10% per service per year. That's very doable. The only time you can really jump it up really high is if you had a bunch of capacity and you were just not going very well, or you added equipment, or you added staff, or you got more space. Then that's what would justify much bigger goals. But and that's why I'm having the accelerator on Wednesday the 6th, is because this is the time that people do usually walk through and try to set up their budgets and their plan of what they're going to do for 2024. Right.
Well, now is the time to pull the raffle for that webinar. Drum roll. All right.
I like, you said what did you say that it's like an automated way?
Yeah. Can you hear it going in the background, or is Zoom blocking it out? I use wheelofnames.com and plug in all the names of the attendees today. And it looks like a little wheel of fortune. And it just pulled Jessica. So Jessica, I have your contact information. I'm going to connect you to Kelly's team today. Congratulations. And Kelly, thank you again so much for spending the morning with us and talking us through how to really set our MedSpas up for success next year and beyond.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.